I want to dive in out of the gates, if I can, on the Capitol Complex master plan. It's been over 2 decades since this has been updated. I know this has been a priority of you and your team. Can you give us an update as to when we might expect that and any top-line items that you're seeing in that plan?
Sure. Thank you for the question, Chairman. That has been the top priority for my agency, and certainly in planning and formulation of the Capitol Campus Master Plan. We've created a subset of that, which is the Capitol Campus Blueprint, which we're most focused on, which has 4 key components. The first of which is the House Office Building renewal, specifically the Rayburn renewal that we've been discussing. The second component is the needs of the Senate community, specifically their own renewal efforts as well as capacity issues. Third is the U.S. Capitol Police Headquarters, which we have had passed legislation directing us to look into. And the fourth is our utility resiliency. The next biggest issue that we're addressing with this committee as well as the appropriations committees is the Rayburn House Office Building renewal. We are in the midst of looking at how we're going to go about that. We appreciate the meeting we had with this committee in appropriations last year where you gave us a way forward, gave us some parameters for our swing space study, which we're finishing up right now. We expect that swing space study to be complete next month and look forward to providing those results to you. That's going to kind of drive where we're going to go next in this program as far as how we're going to plan it, which direction we're going to go into, whether we're renovating existing space or looking to craft new space.
And what lessons learned, if we go back and look at the Cannon Renewal Project, it was over 30% over its initial estimate, over $200 million. What lessons learned as we look at broad, complicated projects? You mentioned Rayburn. Can we draw from that project?
Absolutely. So Cannon, as you well know, has been a 10-year renovation program. 5 phases total, 2 years each tied to the member move cycle. And there have been certainly a lot of lessons learned that we've been able to take from that. After every phase, after every 2 years, we conducted an after-actions review where those lessons were gathered and then applied to future phases. And we're certainly looking at those top-line lessons that we're going to apply towards something like Rayburn. The biggest of which is we artificially, well, go back to your point about the cost estimate. So cost estimate for Cannon was done in a pretty early stages of planning on this, and it had a large factor of, margin of error. It was about plus or minus 40%. And even with all the challenges we came across with Cannon, we're still within that plus or minus 40%. As you pointed out earlier, it's about 29%. Not great, but given all the challenges that particular program had to overcome between the pandemic and historic inflation and a large work stoppage and a lot of things that happened artificially to that project, it's still within that margin of error. But that is too large of a margin of error to give this committee, which I believe in the appropriations. And so what we want to do with Rayburn is get to a further development, further stage of development in the design of it so that we have a better, what's called a program of requirements at hand. Some other lessons that we want to...
Let me jump in just because we're going to run out of time, and I appreciate the robust answer. When we're doing plus and minus, always happy to have you on the minus side, but we'll discuss that further later. Let me jump into another topic that broadly is inside this Capitol Campus Plan, but a little more detailed. Congress's public accessibility is kind of one of our great strengths of our republic, but it also creates unique vulnerabilities. And as I noted in my opening remarks, the Capitol Campus is open and accessible to the American people. We task not only the Capitol Police, but also the physical infrastructure with keeping us safe. In fiscal year 23, there was a 540% increase in funds dedicated to U.S. Capitol Police buildings and security upgrades. And excluding the funds for the new security vestibule for the Capitol building, there's still a 400% increase. Could you speak to how the AOC is allocating those funds?
Sure. So there is a variety of initiatives that we've undertaken. I think the most visible one, which I'm sure we can go into in more detail if you like, was the replacement of the doors and windows on the Capitol building itself to make them hardened against intrusion. And I'm happy to report that all of those doors have been either hardened or have been replaced, as well as the frames. Significant number of the interior doors as well as windows have also been done. So that was part of that project. We have what's called a west front expansion where we're looking at replacement of lights, bollards, and security cameras. We're also looking at improvements on the Senate side. They have some similar hardening that we're also looking to do on the House side with additional doors and windows. We've done proximity card reader installations. We've done more security cameras in this building and others, in the Capitol building as well as the House office buildings. And then, of course, you've already mentioned one of the biggest ones, which is coming up at the end of this year as far as the acquisition, which is the south pedestrian screening vestibule.
I appreciate you being here today. I'll note that this is a nice change of tone from our previous oversight hearing with the architect of the Capitol's office, and so we appreciate and congratulate you on your work. And I'll just note There's a lot of great men and women who work under your leadership, and so we appreciate your leadership. We also appreciate the work of many of those great, talented men and women, some of whom I've known for many years.